What's the craziest thing you found in the archives?
Um, it had nothing to do with the collections. When I was in that small town in Texas, South Texas, um, I was in the public library, and it was basically a conference room that had been converted into the archives and reading room. And it was right by the back exit door. And I don't know if I grew up in the Gulf Coast, on the Gulf Coast, which is more humid than even South Texas, just inside on the coastal bend. And it gets really hot and dry. And I guess this poor little guy was just like, I'm hot. I need to go somewhere cold. And so I got into the archives that morning and opened the door, and there was a coral snake stuck in a trap, a sticky trap. And I was like, I was like, oh, red and yellow kill a felt. Like I had to actually remember the line because I thought I don't want to touch this, but I think it might be okay. And I was like, no, this is a bad noodle. So yeah, I ended up having to call someone to get some help. But I felt so bad for the poor thing too because it was stuck on. That's got to be a horrible way to go, being stuck on those little traps. But I just kept thinking, oh my god, I found a snake in the archive. I found a deadly snake, of course, in the archives. Um, I went the Hertzberg collection at the Whitty Museum was also just amazing from the standpoint that I had gone as a kid. I was always going to San Antonio because my uh, paternal grandmother lived in South Texas, and so we would always go down to see her for the summer, and then drive up through San Antonio on the way out. We'd hit all the things, and one of the things we'd always do was the Whitty and the Breckenridge Park and the zoo, and the Hertzberg Circus Museum was right there on the Riverwalk. And lo and behold, when they shut down in the late 90s, the Hertzberg will said that the Whitty would get the circus collections. And so while I was there, we were moving to a much nicer storage facility. Um, Actually, my Twitter picture is from working in the nasty commissary that was the old storage facility. And there was black mold. There were uh, rats, and there were rats in the basement, like underneath. But anyway, working with the Hertzberg collection, the posters and the circus collection, and rehousing those, I was always finding something every day that I was like, oh my god, my Instagram is going to be insane because I'm just taking photos every day of these posters or things that my museum side collections people, the collections management, my peers were finding over there. And I've also had to go to a funeral home once, which was kind of weird because they still had the equipment with the fluids in it to, like, and the yeah. So working in that area was kind of, I've worked in some funky areas. Um yeah, I've worked in some really funky places. Yeah,
Those are
but it was
definitely
fun.
the strangest things I've heard.
Yeah, when there's like little baby coffins in the corner and you're trying to like put newspapers and obituaries together and box them and get them out of there, and you're like, this is kind of creepy, but it's also weird how quickly you acclimate, and then it's like, oh, it's just a baby coffin in the corner. I'm just not going to look at that anymore. Surprised I didn't have nightmares for months, but yeah,
Part of the job, I guess.
it is.
Other duties as assigned for
It's assigned.
archivists. Yeah.
Baby coffins, they don't tell you about that.
No. Yeah. Another thing grad school did
Or
not prepare us
yeah,
for.
embalming fluid, just